order Chinese, Greek, and Italian food last night?
And hot dogs.
Ugh, last night's a blur.
Hey, what did we end up watching?
Was it Baby Monitor Sound of Fear or Co-ed Call Girl?
No, I'd remember if we'd rocked a spelling.
Hey, they should make a Lifetime movie out of that poor Tori Spelling falling at Benihana. Teppanyaki, Grill of Death. We have limited time. Should we skip the town tour?
We can't skip the town tour.
Well, we'll keep it short. There's a debate going on whether or not to take the phone booth out.
But where would Superman change when he comes to save our town from Ben Affleck?
I made the same excellent point.
I am not making tater tots.
Why not?
We need sustenance.
You're eating tacos.
They're organic.
And I saw you grab those mini donuts, put them down right now.
Mom?
Oh, yes. Isn't it wonderful?
It's
The whole wall. This is my time to be rootless.
And you're okay with this vagabond existence she's leading?
She's Jack Kerouac. She's on the roading it, past the peyote.
After you pass the peyote, what bathroom will you use to throw up in?
Delicious.
Explain to me again who that person is.
Oh, that I could. I thought I knew exactly what I wanted and where I was going, but lately, I don't know, things seem hazier. We're happy. Luke and I are happy.
I don't know how to do this. I was married for 50 years. Half of me is gone. I'm decluttering my life. If it brings you joy, you keep it, and if it doesn't, out it goes. No joy.
He's taking the dining room chairs.
They don't bring me joy.
I'm feeling very lost these days. I have no job. I have no credit. I have no underwear.
What?
Could have been a contender.
You're still a contender.
Wow, are we excited about this?
Are we excited about this?
No, people, the repeating part is over.
I live for moments like these.
That was pornographic.
I will follow.
Haven't done that for a while.
Felt good.
Where you lead, I will follow.
Nothing better to do on a rainy day?
So, before we get started, I have 4 very important words to say. Welcome to AOL Build.
Nice, thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
So I actually heard that you had some alternate theories or suggestions about the final 4 words.
Yeah, I had submitted a list to Amy and Dan, and at the very top of that list was drop the gun, Kirk. I was chagrined, to say the least, that it didn't make it into the final episodes, so I jest.
Missed opportunity.
I know I would never suggest anything to Amy and Dan script-wise, ever.
So I can't believe we're actually living in a world where there are new Gilmore Girls episodes. I think it's the best thing that's happened in 2016. Am I right? So now that the fans finally have their hands on the revival, after years of petitioning and writing the WB letters and tweeting up a storm, what does it feel like?
It feels, I mean, I'm now just beginning to get a sense of how big this is globally. You know, when Netflix continues to put you on airplanes to send you to New York, to do Fallon, to do AOL Build, to do Rachel Ray did the Today Show this morning. I mean, it feels like you're part of something pretty large. And I personally am just really happy for the fans because, you know, that's why we're doing it. And that's the reason we stayed on the air for so long. And that's why we did the revival. It was just the fans wouldn't let up. They wouldn't give up, so.
And you know, there's a real revival craze going on right now, and I have to say, in my mind, Gilmore Girls is one of the most successful. Was there a moment during filming where you thought to yourself, yes, we did it, this is it, we recaptured the magic of Gilmore Girls?
Well, yeah, I mean, when Amy sent me the original, the first 3 scripts, she sent me the first 3 scripts, and then she sent the 4th one about a week later. They were still working on it. You know, it was extraordinary. It was Netflix. It was 600 pages of material, okay, 4 scripts, 150 pages each, no commercials. So in effect, we were making films. We were making really long films. We were making very wordy scripts. Our TV scripts were 80 pages. A normal TV script, our TV script is about 55, 60 pages. And so we open these scripts up, it's just sort of black ink, like chunks of dialogue like this. More black ink, no action, just black ink, black ink. And that's what we do, that's our thing. And they were extraordinary, because Netflix, and they took more license with it because they could. Amy and Dan could. And I think they originally wanted to do something that was a little more filmic in nature anyway. And they did. They took, and look, with the passing of Ed Herman, that gave, that changed the game a lot. And it deepened the storytelling. And it affected all the characters in a profound way. And Amy had to address it. You can't ignore something like that. I mean, he's a giant of a character, and as a man, as a talent, as a person. And I think she paid a very proper homage to him, and did it very respectfully.
Yeah, I agree. I think the revival was strongest almost when it was addressing grief and this year-long journey these three women go through. I really commend her for that. So what was it like? Was it easy to slip back into Luke, into the flannel shirt and hat that first day? I know the scripts can be a little daunting, right? Was there any hesitation about going back?
Well, no, the language never bothered me. A lot of dialogue doesn't bother me. How many acting students do we have in the audience? Do we have any acting students at all? No? None? There's one back there? Okay. So the thing that you discover when you're memorizing Shakespeare is that you're very intimidated at first. It's a lot of words, it's a lot of speeches, and you don't understand what the hell he's saying. But there's an emotional logic to it which makes it very easy to memorize his dialogue. It's a real logic to it, and it's instinctual, it's intuitive, and you feel it, and you don't know why you can remember it, but you do. Amy and Dan write with that same kind of rhythm and that same kind of iambic. There's an emotional logic to everything. So the long speeches are not daunting. They're actually exciting to tackle because there's such great setup and such great payoff when you're doing them. You know that they're going to take you on a journey and you're going to get to your destination in really fine shape. And that's not always the case with writers. So I knew I was in good hands. And no, it wasn't daunting at all. And I think I forget the question that you originally asked me. But it's something about writing, wasn't it?
Well, you mentioned the journey, right? And Luke himself.
Oh, okay, so the character.
Yeah, let's get back to it.
I'm very tired. I got an hour's sleep last night. I didn't feel like the guy at all. I didn't feel like him. I'd had a son in the interim, and I'd changed a great deal myself, and I thought it was going to all click in when I put the clothes on and the hat, and I just, I thought I had the walk, and I thought I had everything down, and I went into rehearsal in that diner that first day. Amy was directing the episode, and I just didn't feel like the guy at all. And that being said, I probably was about 85% there, but that's a long distance away from where you need to be to perform. So I took a walk around Stars Hollow, the faux Stars Hollow. And I just sort of sat in the gazebo and tried to do what we actors call sense memory work and relive a lot of the things. And it worked. And I started getting all those tingly feelings that you're supposed to get. And I walked back into the diner and I said, I'm back, let's go.
I love that. And so much has changed for Luke in the revival, right? He's a character that's famously stuck in his ways, but in the revival we see him contemplating having a child with Lorelai, possibly opening up a Luke's Diner franchise. Talk to me about Luke's growth and how we've seen him change from that grumpy man in the diner in the pilot.
Well, as I recall from the scripts, he doesn't want to have a child, and he doesn't want to open up a franchise. So there's really no growth, and but I think that's part of why that character is so appealing to so many, is because they take great comfort in the fact that he's not going to change. You know, and he's this sort of rock of Gibraltar-ish kind of rock out in the middle of the ocean, and, you know, giant tidal waves slapping up against him, but he's not going to bend, he's not going to change. And that's very comforting. That's very comforting for an audience.
And you know, when I was watching it, I realized you all have known each other for a really long time now. The series started in 2000, and there was this 9-year break. And I think what viewers love about Gilmore Girls is that you really feel a sense of family and community when you're watching the show. What was it like to reunite with Lauren and Alexis and all the amazing people you've gotten to work with?
So the feeling really was, I'm in 2007, I'm in Toronto. I'm doing a film. I got a phone call from my manager who said, guess what? They just canceled the show, the Gilmore Girls. And I wasn't terribly surprised. I thought some of the cast members were sort of, artistically speaking, bankrupt and needed to move on and needed to pursue other things, and that's perfectly understandable. So we never got a chance to have that final goodbye party. We never got any closure. You know, it was like we never knew it was the final episode, so it was like hugs and kisses and, you know, let's have a party. So this was a chance to come back and actually savor this 3.5-month period where we were going to attempt doing 4 seasons, filming 4 seasons in one day every day, and doing 600 pages and not go completely out of our minds. But savor each other's company, and I think a lot of people really, who maybe didn't appreciate it so much when the good times were rolling. And like my attorney said at the time, that lightning doesn't strike twice. You know, you get one, if you're lucky enough to get one great ride in Hollywood, so you want to stay on it as long as possible. But it just wasn't going to be possible with that show. It was just too good. You know, I think 7 years was a perfect amount of time. Maybe it should have just gone 6 before Amy, you know, departed. And the 7th year was kind of a lost year. And she got a chance to come back and finish it the way she wanted to finish it. Not saying that it's finished. Don't charge the stage. Just back off, relax. But I don't know anything. They haven't told me anything. But I mean, if you've seen it, you know that it's open-ended and there's a chance for, you know. And I know something a little bit about the licensing deal that Netflix made with Warner Brothers, but we won't talk about that. I can't talk about that. Not in public, anyway. But you know, it was just nice to be around everybody again, and a more appreciative crowd, and a more appreciative savoring, and you know, the lunches were fuller, and it was just like, you know, I might not see these people again because we knew that it might be the end. So, and it wasn't this 9-month period of time where we're just hammering away at 14 hours a day doing 22 episodes, where it just beats you to death. It just beats you down. It was 3.5 months, and we're all still feeling pretty good at the end of it, you know, pretty fresh, so.
You know, and I think the fans have a special sort of love for your relationship with Lorelai, your character's relationship with Lorelai. While preparing for this interview, my roommate caught me quietly sobbing to that scene where Lorelai sings "I Will Always Love You" to Luke in the 7th season. Say what you want about the 7th season, but that was a moment.
I will say what I want about the 7th season, but you're right. You're right. Yeah, that was quite a moment. Probably one of the better moments of that show.
Have you two? How does your off-screen relationship inform what we see on screen? In the sense, have you guys developed an acting shorthand of sorts? Because the chemistry is just so electric.
That was always there. And so what people maybe don't know is that Luke was just a guest star in the pilot. I wasn't a series regular. The character wasn't a series regular. So I think what they were doing, and the pilot script begins with Luke's diner and it ends with Luke's diner. So, you know, being the very smart person that I am, we figured something was up. And my manager said at the time, this is a heat check. This is a chemistry check. So if the chemistry's good, it'll probably turn into more. And it did. The chemistry was apparent right from the beginning. As soon as I met her, I just knew that there was this kind of this electricity, this banter, I don't know if you call it a meeting of the minds, but there was something going on. And I thought it benefited the show.
Oh, tremendously. And I mean, I think one of the lines that was my favorite in the revival is when Lorelai's speaking of the relationship dynamic, and she says, "I annoy him, and he just builds cabinets." You know? And I thought that was so cute because they're so different, but then they function so well at certain points. But then at other points, as the revival makes evident, the communication really breaks down, right? They somehow are not able to express what they need to each other at certain points.
Well, yeah, she's frustrated at the fact, I think she finally comes to the realization that she's, of a certain vintage and needs to maybe would like to have a child. And as I resist that, she justifiably has to maybe rethink the relationship a little bit, right? So, I don't know, not to give too much away, but there's some conflict in these 4 episodes, and I'll tell you, one of my favorite scenes I've ever done with her and have done ever in my entire career is that kitchen scene in Fall. Have you seen Fall? When she comes back and I think she's going to dump me, and I knew when I read it that could be an important scene, and I knew when we were doing it that it was a home run. I knew it because the writing was just so good. And I didn't take a lot of direction. I didn't need a lot of direction in that scene. You always need a little. You can always go a little bit off the track or give too much or not enough in certain areas. But I knew that was the ultimate moment for Luke and for that couple. And that was when he was really showing his heart and his passion for her. Getting completely naked, so to speak. So that was my favorite scene of the entire 7 years in the revival. That scene was like it for me.
So you feel satisfied where we leave Luke and Lorelai at the end of the revival?
Oh, sure, yeah. So you would imagine if we were, in a year from now, 2 years from now, settling in for the next 4 episodes, where it would begin with the wedding, right? The actual wedding, you get to see it. So we start with a Godfather-like wedding, and then we just sort of, we meet all the people, and, James Caan comes running in, and you're like, oh, no, not him. In other words, there's more life. And I did like how it ended, actually. It was, Amy got her closure, a lot of the characters got their closure, yet there's still room for more.
There's a question that's bugged me about Luke and Lorelai since I first started watching Gilmore Girls. Does she pay for the coffee? What is this mutually agreed upon? Break it down for us.
I'm running a tab.
That is a long tab.
Yeah, she pays, all right. And me, working class guy, dating a rich girl, she's paying.
And what was your reaction to the final 4 words? I think it sent everybody reeling. Social media, I think it broke down. When you first learned, kind of what was your expression almost? Were you surprised?
Yes. But then I thought, well, that's, kind of a logical way to go. Where else would you go? That's life. That's life sort of leading the way. It's of course.
I have a theory.
How the hell didn't I think of that,
Can you help me work it out? So, if the final 4 words are supposed to indicate that Rory's path parallels Lorelai's or mirrors Lorelai's path, and that Lorelai throughout the series has battled between these 2 suitors, you and Rory's father, Christopher, that in my mind, the revival sets up a sort of parallel with Logan being a proxy for Christopher. Both are rebellious sons from rich families that fall in line, and that Jess becomes a proxy for Luke as he's his nephew. And so that would mean eventually that, spoiler alert, everybody, final 4 words, that Logan is presumably the father of the child, but Jess will become Rory's partner in life, much like Luke and Lorelai. Thoughts?
Could be. Never know. I mean, that's definitely one way to go. But think about if it was Jess's kid, you know?
I don't know. Maybe.
We're gonna stop and we're gonna think about that. Yeah, I think what would Logan's reaction be to a Jess pregnancy? You know, probably not great.
Not great.
He'd get turned off. He wouldn't fight for her. Yeah. Would he not fight? He probably wouldn't fight for her. But I think a Jess would. I think he'd hang in there. Yeah. I think you make a sparkling point.
Why, thank you.
You have much knowledge.
And Gilmore Girls has resonated with so many people all over the world, but it struck a chord especially with young women. And I was just wondering, what is it like to be a guy in this Gilmore Girls world? You're on a show that has such strong representations of women, empowered women. How's your experience been engaging with that kind of material?
It's been pure hell, I'm telling you. Just hell. Lots of therapy, lots of medication. It's been terrific. It's been absolutely great. Listen, I've worked for female showrunners with, in this situation, and male showrunners. I prefer women. Actually prefer women. I've had a couple of experiences with male showrunners that I didn't think were so great. And I thought them to be, let's not dwell, but I've had a very, very good, positive experience with this group of people. And, look, we're talking about the arts here. Who is more in touch with their feelings? Who is more intuitive? It's women. It's not guys. There are certain men that maybe can get to that level, but women are just so naturally open and so naturally, underdogish and really have to earn their place more than a man does. So, I'm honored to work with them. I think they're just brilliant women, brilliant people. Very, very competent, brilliant people.
Okay, and before we go to our live audience Q&A, I have one last question. The Stars Hollow musical that took place in the 3rd installment was too good for words. But I was hoping that maybe you'd get a chance up at the mic, considering you have this band, Smith Radio, and there's a new single out, the Ha Ha song, and it has nabbed a top spot on iTunes indie rock charts. So for those who haven't been introduced,
you're gonna rock out.
So for those who haven't been introduced to your musical side, could you tell everybody about your band?
Sure. I have been writing music since I was 13 years old. I've had bands since I was in 3rd grade. We played 2 songs in 3rd grade, I'm Not Your Stepping Stone, and Back in the USSR. It's the only, and I would forget the words at times. I've tried to, I've been in the recording studio before, and I've tried to record singles before, and they just sort of didn't come out well or the way I wanted them. So after the revival was finished filming, I thought, well, I'm going to give it one last shot. And I put together a group of players and a producer that really, really delivered and really interpreted my music in a way that took it to another level. And actually had a 6-month game plan, and here we are. And I'm actually surprised that it has worked out as well as it has, because you start the planning stages, and it's like, here's your best case scenario, and we're there. So I'm very happy about that. So yeah, so we released the single. We recorded 6 songs. We did an EP. We released the single on all the major download platforms, iTunes, Google, Amazon, on November 23rd, and it went to #1 on the indie rock charts in iTunes, top 100, within a couple of hours. And I was sitting in my office in my home the evening of, and the aggregator had just called me, and he said, Google Ha Ha song, and then call me. And I Googled it, and I saw it pop up #1, and I'm like, oh, well, that's bullshit. I don't know. There's a mistake here. This is something that's unrelated to it. It's just like somebody's, it's a blog or some crap, wishful thinking. And then I opened it, and then I actually saw the iTunes chart, and I saw the photograph that I took in New York City of my friend, who's very blurry, with my logo that I designed, with my song title, with a #1 on it, and then there were 99 other songs below it. And I still didn't buy it. I still didn't believe it, because I was in a state of shock. And I just looked at it, and so I called my band manager, and I said, he goes, so you're looking at it, right? I said, yeah. I said, is this real? He goes, yeah, you got the #1 song. And I'm going to get a little emotional, but it was a moment. It was just one of those moments in life where it was like, what just happened? Maybe something will change. Maybe something that I created will have a life, and that's important to me. And I think as an artist, all want that. Being Luke and being on this show is great. Don't get me wrong. I don't own it, though. It's not me. You know what I'm saying? The fans have a different experience of it. They love it. They want me to continue. I will, if the situation's right. But the music is mine. I own it, and it's an instant, immediate gratification exchange with a live audience, which is what I'm craving. I'm craving that. So to take my music around the world is just a dream come true, and I think we're going to get the opportunity to do that, and I expect you all to be there. So. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. Just keep hammering away at it. Look, if I did it at my age, you can do it. Okay.
So now we're going to go to the audience Q&A. If anyone has a question.
Hello.
Hi.
So, question for you. Speaking of moments, were there any moments in your life that you brought into the Luke character for the past 7 years in the actual TV series and now in Netflix, and vice versa? Anything from the Netflix show that you kind of brought from your own life that kind of influenced from being Luke? So having been Luke for so long, did that come into your personal life later on? Those traits, those qualities, or those kind of things?
Latter part of your question, no. Former part of your question, yes. And I'll explain. And I talked about the kitchen scene. Okay. That resonated with me so much. That writing resonated with me so much because I'd made that speech before a lot. I've done that speech. I've done it in real life. I've never been so eloquent, but I've been in that situation a few times. So there's your answer. Yes, your life informs your art. It must. It's the best. It's the only kind of art to create. And I consider acting not a creative art. It's an interpretive art. It's like dance. It's interpretive. You didn't create it, okay? Which is why I want to do the music, because I created it. I'm greedy. So, but yes, it informs everything you do as an artist, whether you're an interpretive artist or you're a creative artist. Absolutely.
Hi, I was wondering, while we have to kind of wait with the mystery of whether the revival will continue, if you could pitch a spin-off show for one of the Stars Hollow characters, who would you pitch for and why?
Oh, I've done that, and I got shot down. I had the president of Warner Brothers Television is just one of the greatest guys, you'll ever want to meet, Peter Roth. And he is producing 30 shows, and they're all hits or whatever, and he's a busy guy. And we would have lunch in the executive commissary from time to time, and just sort of shoot the shit. And I pitched him a Luke's Diner show. I did. I think it was season 7 I did that. And he said, Scott. He said that, the audience will pine for the characters that are not there. And that's a problem. He goes, that's an issue. I said, no, they won't. He goes, yes, they will. I think I cited Archie's Place, which was kind of a bad thing to do. I tried. I failed. Mr. Kim?
Yes, Mr. Kim.
Okay, do a show based on a character that was never in the original. Great idea. Let me get into that with Peter. And you know what? It's probably wacky enough it'll fly.
Hi, how are you? My name is Rochelle, and my question is twofold. What has been the best compliment and also the best constructive criticism you've received as an actor?
Bobby Lewis, the great acting teacher, compared me to Marlon Brando once. And I don't know that it was a compliment. He had a bust of Marlon Brando from when he did Julius Caesar that Brando had given him in his apartment on 24th Street, where he taught his classes. If you don't know who Bobby Lewis was or is, I don't know if he's still alive, but he sort of designed and constructed the program at Yale Rep. And he's considered to be one of the preeminent teachers of the method in the entire world. And to even get into his class was a thrill like you cannot believe. That was a moment when he said yes. And he goes, but you're going to have to start over, and you're going to have to start my technique class. I'm like, shit. So, but I did it. I was doing a monologue from O'Neill or something like that, and I was just being way too emotional. And he said, you remind me of a young Brando. You don't understand the difference yet between emotion and emotionalism. There's a big difference in an acting sense. So it wasn't a compliment. I was mentioned in the same breath, so I thought I'd share it with you.
And so before we wrap up, anything to say about fans wanting more? I know those last 4 words left everyone in shock, but also the big question is, when or if will we get more Gilmore?
I don't know. I think Warner Brothers and Netflix realizes that they have a global army, a fan base army of very aggressive, very dedicated, and loyal fans that they had better not disappoint.
That's right.
So, I guess Netflix guards their numbers like KGB security. I mean, it's really they don't share their numbers with anybody. But I mean, you got to figure something. Something's in the works. I don't know. I think Amy and Dan are very busy with another series, and to do something of the same quality, you would have to give it a little time so that they could write out some ideas and. Probably be formatted the same way, because this I think was a very clever way to do it. You're basically getting. I mean, did you guys feel satisfied with 4 hour-and-a-half episodes? I mean, it's a big meal, right? I mean, it's a lot to take in. And yeah, you want more, but you're sated for a little while, right? I mean, you want more. Oh, sorry. Listen, you know me. I do what I can, right? I really carried the torch for the fans for a number of years, and I almost gave up hope there, but ATX really turned things around. I thought, boy, this is really nuts. I mean, these fans are just so dedicated to this, and they are not going to let up, and we're going to have to do this. And that's when I thought it was going to happen. That's when, in summer 2015, I thought, it'll happen. It'll happen now. I didn't think it was going to happen. I was hopeful, but I knew after ATX that it probably would. So, and I had no information. I just was sort of wishful thinking and sort of shoot my mouth off to blogs and podcasts and things like that, trying to force the issue. So, I did what I could.
There's hope.
Always hope. There's always hope. Look, if the fans want it, they're probably going to get it. So.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Would you please tell everybody where they can watch Gilmore Girls: A Year in the Life and check out your new single?
Yes, since you don't know, I'll have to inform you where you can get the Gilmore Girls, which would be on Netflix. You can stream it on Netflix, and as if you didn't know where you could get the Ha Ha song. Ridiculous question. You can download it on all the major download platforms: iTunes, Google, Amazon, some others, maybe MediaNet, Neurotic, that kind of thing. And the band name is Smith Radio. We will be coming to a city and a town near you very soon. Okay?